2026. We're live with Bill Moore, the CTO of Atmosoft, and myself, managing partner of Atmosoft. We're having a great Monday. It was a great weekend. I know, Bill, we had some amazing weather up here in Utah, and I
We got
believe
snow briefly.
so, I know.
It's that spring or winter spring transition gets me every time.
Yeah, I'm a little lost on why it's snowing on Friday morning, and then next day it's 70 degrees out. So
I know, it was crazy.
the weather is just out of control, but we're hanging tight there. It was my daughter's birthday just recently, so enjoyed the weekend festivities, parties. Took a break really from anything AI and world news. So coming in Monday, Bill had sent me over a few things over the weekend. I'm catching up on, which was just fantastic. This is our third show, and we are coming in hot. We've got plenty of news, information to discuss, economics of utilizing various models for harness engineering, things of that nature. But I just want to kind of deep dive back to where we started. So, this being my third show, we're looking to tighten up what we're doing on these live streams. And for our first, it was more of an intro and a discussion about the identity of Atmosoft, who we are, how we've gotten here in our journey, what qualifies to speak on these topics with AI, agentic workflows, things of that nature. Bill touched on some of the past history he's had and the grief journey arc, which Bill, you spliced that up and that went a little bit viral online, which was fantastic.
Yeah. I got over 1,000 views on that one on a cold account. I was actually surprised that people. I'm not surprised people resonated with the messaging, but I don't hear a lot of people talking about it. And I think developer mental health wise is the topic that more people need to kind of dive into, because I imagine that that some of the I imagine my journey is similar for most of the people who are actively looking at this and trying to figure out how to use this new tool. It's definitely it was a struggle for me in the beginning, and really had to get my brain wrapped around the kind of the true meaning of this. And it was one of, if not the hardest transition in my career, because it just involved letting go of a lot of invested time.
Yeah. And I'm sure, again, like that's probably why it went a little bit viral, was the fact that folks really resonate with that message. But that was our first show. Second one, Bill actually did a solo technical focused live stream where he really just showed some QuickBook build outs, what he can do to improve instead of going and upgrading your QuickBooks plan. I think, Bill, you built out a few feature sets or functionalities that kind of
basically a transaction classifier is basically what we built on the last working session.
Cool. Well, today's show, we'll keep it tight. We're aiming for an hour, but if we go over, if there's great conversation happening, I don't see an issue with that. So we're going to be talking about April, what's going on here this month. A lot of change. It feels that the AI news cycle changes absolutely daily, sometimes weekly. But I'm starting to see a slowdown in shifts of large degrees.
I'm noticing that as well, actually. Now that you mentioned it, I kind of picked up on where I thought you were going for just a second. And I'm noticing that as well, as there's not so many giant splashes anymore, which is really good, man. I really think as an industry as a whole, we need time to get caught up.
Yeah, I also think we're hitting a pivotal moment in the agentic workflow space. I'm noticing a lot of folks are eager to join the train and they feel like they're late to the journey. But I would almost argue that folks that have tackled it prior to now, that they've been in an experimental phase.
Yes.
And I doubt folks would be as open, just because, it's a little embarrassing to say we've lost money on this venture for the last year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it might be, when that journey started. But it's seemingly apparent in 2026, starting in March and heading into April with the OpenClaw explosion in January, that folks are starting to get a handle on how agentic workflows should be established and kind of the hardening around them, right? And almost, I know they're being utilized in production, but that site reliability, right, where folks are kind of coming to a conclusion where an engineering team builds it and then another engineering team is supporting it, the run team, right? So I'm starting to see more folks trend towards that, which is fantastic news, right? That means there's a maturity in this level of conversation around agentic that I know folks really are just happy to see. I think the inundation of constant new stuff, new models, new workflows. It's been an exhaustive affair. So anybody that's made it to this point, I'm sure, like myself and Bill, are quite happy that the news is starting to trickle out. But I think it also points to signs that folks are ready to see real work get done. And
Yes.
that kind of ties into the first story of the day. Bill, this is what you sent me over the weekend. I'd love, I quickly glanced at. I did not read this full story headline, so I'd love to get a little bit more context from yourself, what this was about. Um, I think allegedly someone online was complaining that their entire company was turned off from Anthropic for no reason,
Yeah.
and they had already built all their agentic workflows, which
Yeah.
again, we just had the prior comment that we're finally hitting this pivotal maturity point for agentic workflows. To see a frontier model just turn them off, right, turn the spigot
Yeah.
off, I think is hard to hear. So, Bill, I'm going to pass it over to you to get the details of
Yeah.
this story.
Yeah, allegedly over the weekend, I was across my Twitter feed. I came across an article about a company who was saying they had gone fully agentic. They had purchased 60 subscriptions to Anthropic. Their whole entire organization was using it. And then they were allegedly, again, I want to preface this. Patty made a good comment before we started. I'm just passing along information that I've heard. And I did a little bit of research. I don't know the company's name. Allegedly, Anthropic just cut them off. So they spent all this time and all this work agenticizing, and then they built on top of the model and used the model provided harnesses to do their agentic workflows. And then Anthropic, with a switch of or a flip of the switch, basically turned them off. Basically canceled all their subscription and everything. And I want to call out, like, that's something that can happen. Like you can't, like, the same thing with streaming to YouTube. For any reason, YouTube could just decide they don't like our content and we can't put our content on YouTube anymore.
But you know what, Bill? I want to interject there because I find that this is a major sticking point, and that's why I'm questioning: are we at that maturity pivot spot where enterprises need reliability? We can't have a frontier model one day saying everything's agenticized. We've sunk in numerous hours into our business line and really had everybody full steam ahead on agentic workflows in a proprietary vendor like Anthropic. And
Yep.
then all of a sudden the spigot is turned off for some inconceivable reason. Again, we're not clear on the specifics. This is just rumor mill at this point in time. I've yet
Yep.
to see a major publication go into detail for this story, but it really brings into question how much can I trust and put my full faith into these frontier models and their platforms if they're not ready to support an enterprise? Is there some kind of dispute case? And I think the biggest sticking point of that story that we've heard circulate thus far is that apparently, allegedly, there was a Google Sheets form. And from a company of Anthropic size, the amount of splash they're making in the news, I almost think that's embarrassing to have a Google Sheets form be the intake for complaints or escalations when, Bill and I were discussing how powerful AI is and, Anthropic is leading the charge. You can build a website, build an application in record time, to not even think to keep that escalation path open and build something to intake for enterprise clients is a little, it just speaks, I believe, to the maturity of what the organization's really looking at. And I know folks come out on they're media trained, PR answers. But like when push comes to shove, and you're running your dev shop and you need answers, a Google Sheets form is like really, again, no knock to Google, but this is just not what I would expect out of a company that Anthropic is pushing themselves to be in the spotlight. It's just not something that makes sense. And again, no, again, the story it said, I don't know if there was any follow up from submitting to a Google Sheets form, and
Yeah.
60 subscriptions. That's they're spending some significant change, and to pivot your entire company, I'd almost question like where was their um, enterprise accountant executive, right? Like I'd
Yeah,
imagine
on
at
the
that point you would
Anthropic
be
side,
large enough
right?
right, on Anthropic's radar to say we're going to assign somebody to ensure we can handhold any issues. So again, it really speaks to you know our enterprise is ready, our dev shops ready, our industry leaders ready to pivot to one vendor, or is it a better approach actually to build uh, a bespoke harness that allows you to plug and play anybody's models, right? Which is really
That,
the more open
that's the
claw.
pattern I like. That's the
Yeah.
one that I'm leaning towards more and more every day.
And it is unfortunate because I look at enterprise, and it's almost easier to just have a big name company come in, pay the high sticker price, but when you need support you're going to get that support. So I could see both sides of this, right? And I know major Fortune 500s, that is their typical approach, and I don't expect that to change. That model works really well, but to hear that they're not really ready for it, apparently, again, allegedly, due to this story, I really question are folks suited to start moving towards this agenticized journey in their business, or be willing to accept that there's going to be a custom one-off with your own version of OpenClaw. So I do think there's an opportunity here because I know Peter Peter Steinberger, I believe, is the creator of OpenClaw, and all the various name changes it has. But he moved over under OpenAI, and I believe OpenAI is trying to improve codecs and all the various rollouts and compete directly with Anthropic's managed agent product they just pushed out recently. So I'm excited to see this competition in the marketplace, to see what it comes out as. But as of now, we've got Claude, we've got OpenAI, or we've got Claude, we've got their co-work version and their co-work product. Then we've got OpenAI's um, Codex, right? And then we look at, or you could just be using OpenClaw, right? Like itself,
Yeah.
raw form. And I believe there's going to be a healthy mix of all three of those, but I don't know that I would feel 100% certain today that somebody could put their foot down and say, we're going to move forward with just this.
Yeah,
Um,
I would agree with you. I mean, I think originally, as of a couple of weeks, that was actually a strong consideration for us. We were having the
yeah,
client communication on how we could do the certain agent, and we gave serious thought to, well, if the agent's already built into Claude, then let's just do it with Claude. And now I have to kind of be like, well, am I advising my client correctly if I tell them just to do that? I really think even a simple wrapper around a model, it's just going to give you more control. It's going to give you control over tokens. It's going to give you control over prompting and memory and just different things like that. I think that's probably a custom harness, even if it's just super simple and that you build out over time, is going to be kind of like a core offering to your enterprise. Is like, yeah, we're XYZ company and we have our XYZ harness, and this is how we work with models.
and I believe these decisions are really going to be made to be discussed at the architectural level of how your systems talk with one another. What is the long term? What is the long pole in the tent? Because right now we're feeding off a rumor, a story that's going on, right? So I hesitate to make long term decisions until we give Anthropic the chance to kind of shake this out and see, can
Yeah.
they correct things, right? Was it an absolute mistake? Because again, they're still a young company,
Yeah.
and I have every every bit of confidence that they will get to the description of my expectations and what
Yeah.
Fortune 500 expects.
Yeah.
So I have no doubt that they'll make that happen. But again, it opens up a broader conversation around vendor lock-in, right? Vendor dependency. And when you look at Claude, right, and what it can bring to the table, and that's all the products under the sun, right? I'm just using it as a euphemism to catch all. It appears to be really nice, but it looks like some of the polish just isn't there yet. Will it be there tomorrow? Will it be there next week? I have no doubt, right? The team is probably hard at work. But when you're looking at your enterprise and your business, what is it that you want to see and what level of control? And Bill, I think you hit it on the head. Maybe having your own version of OpenClaw running in your environment is going to be successful.
Yeah,
And
and I really think that that's the correct way that the companies and businesses need to be thinking about it. Because if you look at it from the perspective of, you have this, we go back to this, we've discussed it before, but the non-deterministic versus deterministic, right? You need a deterministic wrapper around the model that kind of smooths out some of those non-deterministic kind of rough edges. Like so if I just take OpenClaw and I download it, I run it on my machine out of the box when it first came out, security nightmare, by the way. Spent a lot of time making it work for our environment, but it's basically, it's a security nightmare. But what you're basically doing is giving the model arms and legs. I really liked that analogy.
what I want to cover there too is, Bill, because I think this bleeds into our next topic, which is Claude's managed agent product, right, or Anthropic's managed agent product that came out April 8th. It's new, it's exciting, and the reason why Bill and I have been talking about, we're at least disappointed at this initial story coming to light, is because in our opinion we were ready to push this in regulated environments. Just use managed agents with Claude's Agent SDK. That's going to
Yeah.
be a long-term success. And now with a story like this, it brings some hesitation into the table. And when we're like, you know what, maybe it might make sense to roll your own, and then potentially have some
Maybe. Yeah,
workflows
I know
through
where you're
Claude.
going. I
Right. I
see.
think there's a hybrid approach. That's
Yeah.
why I'm saying this architecture discussion about your systems is going to be hugely important. Does it make sense to just go Claude or Anthropic everything, or do you put Anthropic in only certain workflows and measure? And again, that kind of bleeds even further into the conversation around token usage, model cost. Right, frontier models will never be cheaper than right now today in 2026. They're frontier companies, right? OpenAI, Gemini, Anthropic, they're all seeking to see some ROI come back into the models that they're currently having consumers and businesses use. So, Bill, my point being is, I think cost or the economics of usage of tools and agents specifically is something I would love for you to kind of deep dive. Feel free to let's tell the journey, just like everyone else in early or late January, early February, there was this explosion of OpenClaw. Again, security nightmare out of the box. If you're not an industry professional, I recommend waiting till patches have been rotated in the releases. I know OpenClaw continues to push out new patches every day or every week, I believe, or sporadic, whatever the release cycle is. But I think that's the hard point where folks really want to use OpenClaw. There's just not enough security because it's just so versatile. There's so many things you can do with it that right now there's not a dedicated, please use this in your corporate environment and feel comfortable, right?
Yeah.
It exposes a lot.
Yeah.
I believe there'll be a version. I know Cisco is working on a version, NVIDIA is working on a version of all these different Claw products. And I believe somebody will have a customized, tailored version of a Claw product that will give folks what they want. I just haven't heard of it yet. But I digress. Bill, please, let's discuss the economics of it all, token usage,
Yeah.
where we were at. We were using Claude 4.
So,
Opus 4.5, 4.6.
yeah. So those of you who are not aware, I'll just kind of briefly discuss two items that are really important for you to understand. And number one is token usage. Those are input tokens. You can think of tokens kind of like a word. That's not exactly right, but if you just think about it like a word, that's what you send to the model. That includes all your prompts, all your directions, all your tools list. That's tokens in. You get charged a certain amount, and then tokens out, you get charged a certain amount. It's usually more, and you get charged a token out based on what the AI produced. Now, what OpenClaw was doing at the beginning was you were allowed to use your Max subscription. Okay, so we have a Claude Max subscription, and we also have API, which we pay for on Claude. The difference between the two is the following: the API is tokens in, tokens out, or what you get billed for. And then when you have a subscription, the way the subscription works are not tokens in and out, which is why I tell everyone go out and buy as many subscriptions as you possibly can consume right now and go do your work. It's the cheapest it's ever going to be at this point in time. And Patty, we've made this argument in the past, and I'll continue making it. With a Max subscription, you get charged for interactions. So an interaction with the robot is I said, hello, how are you? And it responded. That's one interaction. It's not tokens. So it's a different measurements versus the API. So what we did initially when we first got OpenClaw is we used OAuth, which is a type of login authentication you use. We gave basically the OAuth token to Atmobot, and then Atmobot was basically working kind of like it was Claude CLI, right? So I could just do whatever. I could work with it all day. And what we first noticed immediately was, wow, we were hitting our session limits. We were hitting our weekly limits, which those are also new things that came out recently, like within the last 2 months. And we were hitting those pretty fast. And so that got us thinking like, okay, we need to optimize this because we want to be able to do business and do work and do these kind of things. And we can't have be blowing through all of our interactions in the day. And so we spent a lot of time optimizing that, but we were optimizing for interactions, not for API. And so when Anthropic cut off OAuth, what they basically said was you can't use your subscription to power your Atmobot, your Claude bot, your OpenClaw, whatever. You can't use our subscription to do that. You have to use the API. That drastically, yeah, go ahead.
I would like 2 points actually. One is a little off topic, but very relevant. Breaking news. It looks like Apple CEO Tim Cook is stepping down, and that John Turnus, the hardware executive, hardware engineering chief, is going to be taking over. So interesting point, especially as we look at infrastructure powering AI. Right, it's a very, very good look at what is Apple's journey and what do they foresee in the next 5-10 year horizon, potentially longer. The fact that they're making the CEO, or at least right now allegedly, is that it's John Turnus, the hardware engineering executive, to come take over the CEO spot. I believe Apple's going to be taking a move into their silicon, their hardware and how to power AI. Right, I do believe that's going to be a good change. But I digress. Back to the point you were making. When we talk about the change from OAuth to API, there's a key point here that OpenClaw is being powered by Opus 4.5, 4.6, and various other models, but they have seemingly come up with Anthropic has seemingly come up with the best conceivable model at this given time for tooling. And tooling is super important when you're building agentic workflows, to have the agent understand where they need to start their work and the various edge cases that fall in between. That tooling was very useful to be able to send messages, or in this case, just to say tokens, via the OAuth, because the context. Did it have to do with the context window, Bill? I really don't want to step over my words, but I'd love to get in that nitty gritty about why the economics of it, setting it for at least the consumer side, made sense for us. It's because how Anthropic registered the data coming through. Wasn't that correct? Am I wrong there?
Yes, yeah, that's exactly right. So again, we go back to the token in, token out API, and then the interaction. I could have an interaction with the robot that was 1,000,000 tokens. And so that would be my whole entire conversation, whatever tools I had listed, and that would all just be counted as one interaction. I wasn't getting charged. So that's why when Claude originally came out, they were able to that you were able to do a lot more just by using your subscription versus now Atmobot still works. It's not as good as it was before because now we're paying for interactions and or we're not paying for interactions, we're paying for tokens. And that's a big difference. And the difference is you get charged for data coming in and data coming out versus you get charged for I had an interaction.
So the reason why I bring this up is the economics matter. When folks had this explosion with OpenClaw and harnesses and getting deterministic answers and managing agent workflows through this harness, OpenClaw seemed like the logical next step because of how cheap the compute usage seemed to be on using models like Anthropic's Opus. And I saw online allegedly Anthropic was losing $4,800 per $200 max subscription. So there was some power. I can see how that would happen, right? Especially describing how the OAuth connectivity was being optimized for consumer usage and business usage. But Anthropic is chasing, I believe, an IPO this year, and they need a path towards profitability. And folks are not just going to dump money endlessly into the models themselves. I would imagine they could have waited a little longer, but I don't know the current internal standing with Anthropic and their burn rate and things of that nature. I'm sure investors definitely took a look at the financial statement and said we need to have a change. Otherwise, I don't think that Anthropic would have burned the goodwill and the excitement in the development community that really came out of that boom. Because now it almost feels switching to the API, it's vastly more expensive to run agents to do anything. People are hitting weekly and daily session limits extremely fast. I've seen folks online allegedly after 5 prompts they're done. Right? I don't know what that was.
That's probably like the $20 one. I'll be honest with you. I run probably 4 or 5 instances of Claude throughout the day, almost all day, every day, and I don't ever hit any of my limits. But I'm also paying $200 a month.
So maybe it's a point to pay more. I know we've hit limits in the past, and
yes, we have. When OpenClaw first came out, we hit that fast.
Yeah, we've looked to see the threshold limits.
Yeah.
Another point in this
harnesses come in, man. Like you do all this optimization before you interact with the robot. The robot is not going to optimize for you. The robot is going to optimize for the business.
Yes.
Anthropic, right? So it's your job as an engineer to be like, hey, maybe I don't need to send all this data to the robot and chew up all these tokens and get a $10,000 API bill per month, right? Like we need to be smart about this. We can't be wasting money.
And those comments, Bill, that comment specifically, I believe that's what's missing in the AI space broadly right now, because folks are still just excited to get usage and companies are willing to throw money out the door just to get their engineers to figure this out. That I believe that right there is ripe for folks to come and take a class, a 2-day course, and get well acquainted with the techniques and the various ways that you can optimization.
It really is so crazy simple. Like your saddle analogy that you gave the other day is great. It was like your harness is like the saddle you put on the horse, and the horse is the model that you're trying to ride, right?
Yeah.
And that analogy just works great for everybody. Everyone can kind of get a broad understanding of it. And your saddle can be as awesome or as bare bones as you want it to be. But the fact of the matter is, at this point in time, you need a saddle.
Yeah.
If you want to ride these horses, bareback is not a great option.
No, it's absolutely not. Because you're then at the mercy of whatever the company that you're borrowing compute from is going to give you.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, this weekend, another entry for a player into this space. X API is now available for OpenClaw. So for agentic tooling, this was announced by Elon this past weekend. I haven't heard much of any news about it. I wonder how X or Grok, right, performs.
Yeah, Grok, yeah.
Tooling. I know there's a lot of talent over at the XAPI team or XAI team. So I'm
a lot
hopeful.
of talented agents.
Talented agents, yeah. I mean, like what?
I will point that out. Like one of the things I read was the whole back end of the Twitter API is run by a couple of senior engineers or one senior engineer and like 20 agents.
Yeah, they definitely are adept at figuring out how to leverage agents and agentic workflows. I think the XAI team really has got a handle on this. So
yeah,
I'm curious to see what the tooling capability looks like powering OpenClaw. And again, just so folks are blatantly aware, OpenClaw was, I don't even know what to call it. I guess it could be categorized as a passion project that exploded. I know Peter has said he used AI to do augmented development and push out a lot of things. And so when we look at it, it's really, I don't know that the optimization is there yet. But again, nobody expected it to do what it could do and give this open source harness to the masses. And now that it's out there, nobody wants to rebuild. I mean, I believe there's a big push online for the Hermes agent, which I believe is just another harness that's more streamlined, more optimized. But I've not yet seen enough consensus in the just the public square for myself or Bill to go out and warrant it and drive it and daily it, right, and test drive it.
I want to build my own harness. I'll be honest with you, man. I get what they're trying to do, and I think a lot of companies will go that route. I think companies are going to get the most value by, instead of their initial investment being in, I'm going to pay $5,000 a month to Anthropic or whatever. I'm going to use their agents. I'm going to use their framework on just like spending a couple of those dollars and just building your framework. Because the other thing too is like, you're building these agents, but do you really think it's a great idea to give the 40 people in marketing and sales their own version of Claude that they're running? No.
Some companies,
they are going to do it. I don't think it's a good thing to do.
I look at it this way. I've been in a couple organizations. Everybody has their own budget in their business line. And if that is what the executive of that business line feels like is going to move the needle and that's the ROI, do what is best for your company, right? And your business line.
For sure.
Go out and generate sales, generate income. I will never argue against going out and making money. Will it be optimized? Probably not, right? I think there's a nice blend where folks can, co-op between each other, right? Like maybe the IT team should be bleeding in and have a dual reporting structure up to marketing or vice versa.
Yeah.
But corporate politics, whoever has the purse strings is calling the shots. So I don't blame sales or marketing for getting their own subscriptions. I just think there's a way to come in and say, hey, we're going to still allow you to go and get the latest and greatest, but we're going to optimize so you get the most value internally. But there's that balancing act. Some people just need to go out and acquire it.
Institutional memory too, which you get with your own harness. Like, we'll talk about memory some other time, but I want to know what Tom is doing I'm let's just say I'm a salesperson and I work for company X. I want to know what Tom is doing on his marketing and sales effort. And I don't want to be duplicating things. And the way to do that is you basically have an agent that runs for everybody and is storing institutional facts up in the cloud.
Or wherever. The best use case and what people continue to talk about with agents is it's trying to keep managers or that mid-level layer of a corporate entity up to date on what's going on and allow them to make real-time pivots before going too far. When we look at like the senior level folks, they're setting the corporate strategy and the overall lay of the land. I don't know. I believe having reporting is going to be beneficial to them and more real-time data flowing through them. But, building a team at least a top-down structure, that's really going to impact the middle management team the most. Those VPs, those anybody under the sun, directors, management, MDs, those folks are really going to benefit from having agentic workflows, having a cron job kick off, gathers all the reports they need from their direct reports. What did they do yesterday? That's super important. But again, pivoting back away from the business side, more technical, I am very curious how X APIs going to handle open clause tooling problem, because at least anecdotally on our side, we've leveraged OpenAI, we've leveraged Min-Max, Alibaba's models, DeepSeek, and we've not yet seen the same quality, at least from our side. It's a very much
There's definitely a difference. It's like, in my opinion, it's like driving a Ferrari versus driving a Honda Sport.
yeah.
Like the Honda
You're
Sport,
going somewhere.
yeah. It definitely goes fast, but it's not as fast or as fancy as a Ferrari.
Yeah, and I don't know that is ever going to disappear. And I think that's really where the substance of where folks are going to start measuring. This is just so early, and this conversation we're having is not widely known amongst many folks. But once people really dig into the agentic workflows and start building them out and using various different models for different tasks, there will be a push to say, well, it's clear that Anthropic is the head and shoulder leader, but there are still circumstances around it. The same way you can't daily a Ferrari. I mean, maybe you could, but are you willing to pay that cost of dailying a Ferrari, right?
Yeah.
Doing the brakes, changing the whatever that cost associated with it. It's a much higher cost than dailying, a Ford Fusion, a Tesla, a Lexus. Like, there's going to be varying degrees of who makes the most sense. But again, the market will make that decision themselves. And, once engineers really start, diving into this, I think, again, I have no idea. Maybe X's API is going to be the new, or Grok is going to be the new Opus. Maybe people just say it absolutely is fantastic for tooling, and it's another win for the X team and Elon Musk. And again, it's a win for us, because I know every developer right now, or every AI engineer, or folks working in the agentic space, we really want that replication of what Opus was giving us. It's like having it not be available at the price point that we would like to see it at is really like a hamstring at this point, because it was almost like we were getting free candy every day, and now we have a limit.
I kind of, this is a horrible analogy, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I kind of go back to the analogy of actually, I'm not gonna do that analogy, but it's kind of like they're giving it to you and getting it into your hands and getting you kind of stickied into their space. And then all of a sudden it's going to be, oh, that thing you were paying 200, 400, whatever dollars per month for, now it's $5,000 a month. And
well, again, back to that point, Bill, I believe Anthropic just didn't expect the overwhelming popularity.
Claude definitely was a game changer for me too.
Exactly. I don't want to say that anybody's pricing unfairly. I think this is
I don't think it's unfair either, but I'm saying what they're doing is I feel like they're kind of doing a sleight of hand trick here, man. It's the practice is deceptive in that I paid for a Max subscription and I wasn't maxing out my Max subscription. And now you're not going to let me use my OAuth Max subscription to power my version of ClaudeBot. That's deceptive in my opinion. And I'm making a bold statement in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like that whole practice was deceptive. I understand they didn't foresee it. I understand they're like, hey, we can't run all of these harnesses and it's just going to it's chewing up too much compute. I get it. There's physical and reality limitations. I'm not saying that, but it feels deceptive in that, here's a Max subscription. I can just use Claude CLI all day on my machine. Why can't Atmobot use it all day on my machine too?
I think there's
it's hard.
I know. I don't disagree with the viewpoint you're taking. I just look at it, and again, in the physical world terms of me buying, a Ford F-150 brand new off the lot. and then stripping the engine and putting it in my tractor. Like, it's like, well, it's my car, do what I want. But
Yeah.
obviously there's going to be some constraints, and you look at the repo process and the bank stones, the car note, if that's what you bought it on, and
Yeah.
that's a whole separate conversation. But it's not like we're owning the infrastructure, and there's a terms of service, and Anthropic, OpenAI, X, Gemini, all these companies are figuring out
Yeah.
what can they not actually take, because
Yep.
compute is still limited. I mean, that kind of
Yes.
gets us into the next point of this conversation. In today's news, at least for April, is that the data center build out is continuously being constrained for a numerous amount of reasons. And again, as we mentioned in the first episode, there are real serious consequences of AI, that we're not glossing over, right? But I'm not specifically pointing out, because my point is, to have folks bring about adoption. We can tackle what are these issues at the same time, I believe, concurrently. But I don't want to slow progress in society, right? There's too much potential for us to solve, cancer, or solve real world problems by leveraging AI in our businesses and our daily lives, that I don't want to constrain scientific and future humanity's progress. But there does need to be serious considerations about how these data centers are built, where they're built, what's the water usage, electricity usage, and everything under the sun. But back to the point, the news story today is that there's data centers are stalling out, on the meta side, and they're actually training fiber technicians for free, just because that's a skill that's a current blocker for them to continue building out brand new data centers. And I found that was quite telling, to say we're going to show off, at least I don't know the average salary of a fiber technician, but it's probably not cheap, right? So the fact that Meta is taking it upon themselves to train users and upskill a whole class of folks, again, I see this as a continued shift and trend towards, jobs aren't going away. They will just be a reskilling and a upskilling of jobs that have already existed in the economy. And this is an example of one of those, right? So, very excited to see it. I know Meta is not doing this out of the kindness of their heart, but only to accelerate. But I do believe that it does help the everyman. I do believe it will help working class individuals to say, we've got a unique skill that is going to continue to be important and resonate, and God willing, it'll carry me through the remainder of my career. So props, hats off to Meta on that rare W, right? I know sometimes they're in the news for not great things, but I find it's important to call out the positives, even when corporate entities are vilified. I do find that it's important that we celebrate the wins, because we want corporations to continue to do these kind of things. It matters.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so, Bill, what are your thoughts? Data centers, things of that nature.
Yeah. So again, putting aside like there's a lot of debate going on data center, and I think we as a society are going to have to decide, and ultimately I think the market will play out here, if this is something we want. I actually don't think the cat's going to go back into the bag, but I think there's probably some middle ground, and I think if you're worried about compute resources being used by AI and these large data centers, then that's another reason for a harness. Like, just optimize your stuff so you're not wasting extra CPU cycles on stuff that the
Yeah,
robot doesn't need to process. Like, we can fix that on our end, but you can't fix that using Claude CLI or OpenClaw, or not OpenClaw, Claude CLI or OpenAI's like direct code. They're going to be focused on maximizing token usage, to be honest, when you're not in a subscription. And so that's the business model. So we need to take control of what we're putting into the robot and what the robot's outputting to us.
So, Bill, hot take from your opinion is that it's actually engineering teams' responsibility to optimize their token usage and compute from frontier models to get more throughput and allow more folks to use these data centers more conservatively.
Yes.
And the fact that we won't need as many, right? I totally agree. I think that's a hot take. I think some folks will bemoan and say, we still don't have enough training. But you got to go out and just be the change you want in the world. And folks, you've got to go out and get these train. You've got to just go out and start utilizing this and paying attention to conversations like Bill and myself and others who are talking about token optimization and not just burning tokens for the sake of burning it. I mean, compute is a scarcity. It's a scarce resource at this point. And I mean, we continue to say it's not going to be the same price next year as it is this year. So folks that are taking it for granted right now, man, you are going to be hurting.
Sorry.
No worries. I guess we got the dogs riled up. That commentary. All right, taking a look at what else we've got for April.
Hold on. I want to show you this. Like, okay, we're so popular now. We're getting this.
Buy streams, buy viewers. Well, you know what? That's a fantastic segue into the next commentary for April. This story came out in, I believe, in September by Carnegie Mellon University, Byron Spice, September 3rd, 2025. His commentary there was fraudsters are using fake stars to game GitHub and to get popularity amongst different projects. And folks have been downloading projects because they have an implicit trust of the star system that GitHub is using. And that just seemingly is being gamed.
Yep.
The reason why this is coming to light is because I guess recently there's been yet another article kind of resurfacing that original, discussing 100x surge in bot campaigns. And this one's by Daniel Singer, April 3rd of this year, 2026. GitHub's fake star economy, how reputation as a service is poisoning open source. So now we're seeing packages with malware, high star amount, and folks giving that implicit trust, downloading them. And, in the age of AI, malware just continues to be an ever-growing problem.
I think it's going to get huge. I think at some point, like my honest opinion is, minus the compute scarcity actually kind of changes my opinion on this a little bit. But like just talking about it in general, I think we'll get to the point where you're basically not even be able to go on the web without an agent. Like I think it's just going to be mostly trash, and so that's an unfortunate side effect of this. But I do think it's coming. I already see an explosion in the amount of just emails I get that are just not even worth paying attention to.
Yeah, I mean, I believe there was I can't recall the news source, but there's been an uptick in folks just recognizing AI content, and that's an ever-going conversation Bill and I have where it becomes ever more important to authentically, write out stories, messages, emails to folks that you work with in business, new prospects, because folks don't want to read AI slop. I know I don't, right? Like I just want to get the
answer. I have a problem with that framing only from this perspective. From like AI helps me communicate more effectively.
Yes.
I write the email out myself and then I put it in AI. You're the only person I've ever met who gave AI an email draft and AI was like, this is good. Like you're the only one I've ever met. And like AI was like, yeah, that's tight.
I write some good emails.
It's ADD, ADHD, autism, all the things like kind of coming down and being like, okay, this is disjointed. Like it makes sense to my brain, but like when you're consuming my content, it would just be scattered for your brain, and my core idea wouldn't get across. I love using AI for email generation. I understand the slot concept, and I'm not trying to go for slot, but I am trying
I think
to
it has its uses. Short, quick answers that are very, and that you've reviewed yourself. Sure. Yeah. Right. And I think the structure of email writing has always been a challenge. Again, shout out to my media communications back in my university, Professor Gail Yash. She denoted this is probably one of the most important things you can learn in business school that's overlooked entirely is how to write an email, how important it is to write an email. And that extends beyond to other communications, right? Text, anything really, the written form. and then you get into the verbal and how you're presenting yourself. But email is just something that folks, I don't know. There's still emoji usage, and I wouldn't say the lack of professionalism, but it goes back to like, how do you write a letter? Like, there's so many different ways people want to present themselves, and different backgrounds. If you're more engineering focused, if you're, got the literary prose of Mark Twain, you're gonna come off, you know, on the written record very differently. So I don't hate it. I'm just saying that people notice it and they attribute it to a lack of authenticity. And you're not really giving me the time. I took the time to write this email to you, whatever it might be, and you're giving me what appears to be the first response one of these models replied back with, which is a good enough
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
Right. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's
Yeah.
not a useful tool, that you shouldn't be using it. I'm just saying inserting more authenticity and really taking the time to edit the email is probably going to be a winning solution, because you have the template already, segued out.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I get that point too. I just want to point out too, like it's not. It depends on like how you use the tool, right? If I just post it into your email without any thoughts until the robot to draft or reply, or have my robot monitoring my email, it's automatically drafting replies. I could see what you're talking about.
Well,
And there are always dead giveaways. I know when I post you stuff and I'm trying to get it into my voice and I post it to you and you're like, no end dashes. Like that's like they're just
yeah, it comes
dead
off.
giveaways that I had AI edit this.
Yeah, it comes off disingenuous. And here's a better point, more broader, and tying it back to this GitHub star controversy. Folks are injecting malware into these packages and uploading them or giving them higher rank stars for people to build this trust. But on top of that, we as the users of models and putting in replies, some models will be compromised in the future. I don't know that every model is going to be a safe model to use, and we're still in this kind of wild west of usage. But you may be copying and pasting a block of text, and in that block of text is like white text, unreadable or hidden behind anything else, that gives a set of instructions to another model as a way of prompt injection, right? So like,
Yep.
when we look at what is the safetiness of it all, and this kind of ties into the other story we wanted to talk about, and people utilizing, I mean, Bill, you made the joke, should we just cancel our subscriptions and use McDonald's
Yeah.
chat
Yeah.
chat log history to
Yeah.
basically use their Claude subscription or whatever they're running behind the scenes, because
Yeah.
there's seemingly no guardrails or protections in place for large companies for their usage of their models in their
Yeah.
chat, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this continues to be a problem. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is, it's not only that I'm just saying it's disingenuous. I expect in the future that, depending on what model you're using, this actually might be a dangerous category for potential hackers to come into an enterprise and prompt inject another enterprise's infrastructure and their whole security layer. So that's my like takeaway, my point. But I'd
Yeah.
love to hear your usage about, what do you think, Bill, at a high level, folks should be doing to protect, like, McDonald's or Chipotle, like these chat apps that they've embedded AI into, and like, what's stopping you or I from just abusing their subscription, and in turn abusing compute?
Yeah, or so on the abusing compute side is one thing. The other side is I'll keep stressing this constantly, is I would be very surprised if McDonald's did any type of harness or scripting or any type of input. And then you could also tell because the McDonald's chat was answering just very broad questions, like how to reverse a list in Python was the one that the tweet that, or X, that I read, whatever they're called. And it was responding, right? So that obviously means that, or it doesn't obviously mean, it could possibly mean that they're not doing any scrubbing of the input, which is a deterministic problem. We've already solved it, right? You need to be looking for keywords. Are they asking about menu prices? Or maybe you need to go to the model twice and be like, is this a question we want to be answering with the McDonald's chatbot? And then, did they do an agent's ND file? Did they do a sole ND file with instructions that the agent, like, it shouldn't just be answering questions on how to reverse a list in Python in the McDonald's chat. It's off brand, it's not relevant, and now everyone in the world knows that McDonald's chat powered by AI and will answer all your questions. So go use their compute.
Yeah. And I believe this is going to be a continued problem.
Oh, for sure.
Same way, cross-site
That's why
scripting.
our chatbot on our website does not do it.
Yeah, and we have to take these precautions in place, right? We put several things through the ringer. But like there's just like glaring security vulnerabilities that are out there in the world.
Yeah.
And I believe that this is going to be one that just continues to be talked about for the next 20 years. I don't see it going away. I just see companies solving it at varying degrees. And, if it's not known, it's not known. And it'll be like a cool little hack that people seek to do.
It's super easy to take the input into the chat and either do 2 model calls or just do 1 call with a better instructions, and then but 2 model calls to be like, is this about anything having to do with McDonald's? If it's not, then just say no.
Yeah, listen, 100%. I think bigger corporations are going to get a handle of this. I think this continues to persist forever. That's my hot
protecting compute is an interesting question. I don't have a clear idea on protecting compute.
That comes from,
I'm interested in it, but like really, it's like I need the model or a human to determine whether I should send this question or not.
Yeah. I think
maybe it's a lower price model that makes the yes/no call, like a Haiku or a DeepSeek or something like that.
It still burns compute. What I think that's like actually a more nuanced topic that opens up a whole rabbit hole that actually, me saying it now, seemingly was just a passover, but actually when we take a look at it, it's way harder of a problem to solve. And I think
I honestly think McDonald's did it wrong. Like, shout out to McDonald's. Don't eat there.
Listen, they can come call us, help@atmosoft.com. We have no problem meeting engineers, signing NDAs. We're not here to cast any blame. We're here to just help. That's it.
Yeah. 1,000%. I want everyone to be using AI. I'll be honest with you. And one of the topics I want to talk on next time is pricing things. I think that's an interesting conversation that someone needs to. Open up on how we price things now. It's super hard problem now because I can't just to give people a kind of a bleed in because I want to talk about it. I can't charge per hour because that doesn't work. Like it literally takes me 2 hours, maybe 4 hours, maybe 8 hours on a really hard crunching day with AI to get to a solution. So it's like. So we need to talk about new pricing models.
Well, folks have discussed this. It's still tentative, and I think it becomes more of a change in how we look at outcomes. And the pricing model I'm discussing is outcome-based pricing, where you're asking for a service. Is a service done? You're going to pay X, right? And that, I don't know if that'll take off. I think it might. I think there's some hope in the parties that want that to happen. But I also think folks are going to take a look at just because we've hit this, compounding productivity set doesn't mean that I want to really pay more and or I pay. Yeah, I don't want to pay the same amount
more. And I'm not asking for the same price I would have charged you if it would have taken me a month's worth of work. But
here's where I'll kind of say that this has already been a conversation and the market has already solved it, right? We're saying we're not going to do that. It's in construction, right? Whereas prior, you're getting the nails made, right? You're doing carpentry, you're putting in complex joints, trying to save nails, painting, sourcing all the material. And then in comes the Industrial Revolution, and we've got all these various new tools, electronic tools. Like, think how much easier it is to plane a board of wood or cut wood now with a handsaw versus going and sawing it off yourself. The time saved is tremendous. But if I really, again, this is just me speaking off the cuff, but if I really price what it costs for a handyman or a general contractor to do the work, I don't know that a general contractor is any more richer off in 2026 from an inflationary standpoint to where they were 100 years ago, even, right? I think craftsmen
Yeah.
get paid a certain level, and that's great. And some of them make some great money, and there's world-class craftsmen out there. And I think the general journeyman out there is still getting pretty much the same rate, even though the tooling has improved. And I believe that's the same kind of outlook when we take a look at AI and the industrial evolution of using agents and getting work done faster. I can't necessarily say that I think based pricing still may take a back seat, but we'll see, right? I would love to see it happen, but
Yeah.
you'd
What,
really
what
have
do you
to
think
sell me.
about a percentage of savings? Like, I think there's a level of trust that has to be there. Like, if I save a company, let's just say Sally makes 40 grand a year, that's $20 an hour. If I save a company basically five or like 10 hours a week of her time, and then the company gives me a percentage of that as like,
Listen, why didn't Milwaukee or DeWalt or anybody else, tooling companies think about this in house?
that
Like
is a good
that,
question.
maybe it came out. Maybe there's documentation years ago that this was a conversation amongst executives. I don't know. I just think
Yeah.
that people have a certain way of how the world works, and I don't know that
And I
one
get
really.
that, but like, okay, so how do we in this economy with AI and our business, like, I'm kind of I'm going off the
Yeah,
cuff a little bit, but how do we? I'm going to be honest, like, maintain our standard of living if now, like, that would basically require me to have a new client and new project work every day. That's 30 new clients and 30 projects, or sorry, 25 projects a month. In order to
I
keep
think
me
there's
engaged full
consolidation. I think it's consolidation in the market. I think smaller and medium-sized businesses doing software development are going. I mean, when we talk about our business in particular, our line in our industry, there's not really standalone teams, right? There's consulting companies that maintain a huge amount of resources uh, on the bench to be able to tackle projects ad hoc. And most oftentimes, we see engineering capabilities, at least on the software side, embedded within organizations. So either
Yeah.
they're already being hired,
Yep.
or they're large consulting firms that have resources at the ready. So when we talk about the uniqueness of running a software company standalone, and at this point, I would even categorize us as an agentic software company. Um, we're kind of an outlier. I'll be honest with you, Bill. So I think that the best way for us is the boutique, high skill, high price touch that continues to be the expertise we bring to the table and the amount of hours we've sunk into figuring this out. But when I look at other
Yeah, see, that
businesses,
makes sense actually right there. That's a good point to make, is because it's been the last 9 months of basically dedicated time we've been on this. Like,
yes,
we put in the work.
yeah, and if we're putting in 100, 120, sometimes 140 hour, I mean, it was crazy the amount of hours we've put in these last 9, 10 months.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that we have no choice but to be ahead. And if we're following the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours turns you into an expert, we're already 1/10 of the way in a very
Yeah.
short window, and have kept abreast with the
Yeah.
latest and greatest in technology and these releases and these outgoing frontier models, of what they're putting out, content, products, and everything under the sun. I I don't question that there aren't folks that can speak the way we can, but I also know at the price point and the niche markets that we're serving, we are head and shoulders above our competition at this point.
Agreed.
Again, another winning strategy is we are U.S. based, right?
Yeah.
We continue to be here serving U.S. clients, and folks like being able to call us in the mountain hours, MST hours, and say, we need something. Can you hop on? Can you fix it? Right? And we provide
Yeah.
that kind of high touch, white glove service. So, um, yes, I do believe we'll need to maintain more clients, but we've already optimized our business to be able to understand and tackle more with agents. So I'm not really as concerned. But again, we're in this unique scenario where we've got this implicit understanding of how to do this, and it's not you or my job to be able to go out and train everybody else, right? If they want to pay for a course or reach out to us, sales at Atmosoft will train your dev shop to be more operationally efficient, and how to leverage AI and agents to be able to do more with your job and accomplish more. And, to the
And
senior
some people
executive.
may stop at the augmented step, and that's okay. But you have to do the augmented step.
Well,
You
the
have to,
engineering team might, right? And that's
yeah,
totally okay. The people I'm talking about also are the executives, the senior leaders, the folks
yeah,
that are wanting to see productivity push out more for
yep,
less, right? How can I
yeah.
do more with less? Those folks want this, right? And those are the folks I'm talking to where I'm saying,
No one's the
feel free
money.
to yeah, reach out to us.
Yep.
We'll meet with you. We'll have to meet with your engineering leaders, and we'll find a middle ground of what works best for your culture, right? I do think that culture is an important component of this, of how you guys currently function and how are you going to present that and lay that out digitally with your agentic workflows. Um, but I digress. I think we've nailed this topic. We're at an hour 5.
Hey, hold on. We can't close this one out without talking about RizeCon, buddy.
RizeCon. So
RizeCon.
RizeCon. I'll let Bill get into the finer points of the event coming up.
Yep.
In-person conference. Shout out to Ryan Harris and his team
Yeah.
putting this together. We'll be there live in person Wednesday and Thursday this week. Very localized in our area, right? Idaho, Utah, Wyoming. So we're excited to see tons of business owners, folks really excited about agentic workflows. I have no doubt we'll get plenty of people coming up asking us questions and seeing what we can do. I know we're honest. Our goal is honesty, integrity, and ROI, right? People first, though. But those are our kind of core, those are exactly our core values. And we want to make sure that we're helping our local business leaders, our community. I know there's a lot of support in the coastal markets, right? If you're in New York, if you're in LA, if you're in San Fran, if you're in Miami, if you're in Seattle, right? They've got folks like us. We're a dime a dozen, right? But out here in this mountainous region, we do stand head and shoulders above some other folks. And I don't say that to be braggadocious. I say that because we want to help, right? We're very confident in what we know, and we would love folks to come up, ask us questions, right? Knowledge is free. We believe it's free, and we want to help as many folks as we can. Help at atmosoft.com if you have questions. Please email us. We want to see those questions answered. And yeah, Bill, so feel free to give
Yeah.
RizeCon a little bit
Yeah.
more background on what it is. I think the folks
Yeah.
would love to hear about it.
Yeah, RizeCon is essentially basically a networking event. We decided to sponsor Happy Hour this year, so we're happy to be sponsoring that. And so first round of drinks are on us. All at the RizeCon meetup. It's going to be a bunch of people in the local businesses doing networking, and basically the majority of sessions are in some way around about AI. So we've done it. We've been there. We're live with agents. We're live with augmented development. We're doing all the things. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments or concerns, and you're at RizeCon, please stop by and talk to us. I'm happy to share whatever I know. That's part of the reason why we're doing these broadcasts, to kind of add another voice into the ocean of voices, and we think we have a unique perspective. And I do know how to make AI work for your business. We're cost conscious, we're token conscious, we're ready for the evolution away from subscriptions. We've thought about it, we've argued about it, we've built the MCP servers, we've done all the things. And so if you have questions, if you have comments or whatever, and you're at RizeCon, please stop by and give us a hello.
Well said. Some of the topics we didn't cover today, but we're on our list. Maybe we'll get to them next week, maybe not. Depends on what else is exciting or going through. Or not next week, whenever we go through this show again.
Tomorrow.
Maybe. I mean, we'll be busy prepping, I believe,
Yeah.
still. But, I'd love to get another show
Okay,
out
if you're not
tomorrow.
going live tomorrow, I will.
Yeah. Bill may just be doing another technical session, which maybe
I love technical sessions. They're my jam.
Yeah, that may be our rotation moving forward. Is Bill giving a nice technical overview, and then me and him coming together, talking shop about the business world.
The business side of it's important, man. I don't think enough people are
be.
talking about it. Like, you hear all these conversations either about technology or about business, and right now we're in this space with AI where the conversation needs to be about both. Like, They're not separate anymore. If we talk about this gap a lot. If your business is not at least somewhat leveraging AI, the businesses that are going to be ahead of you. They're going to
Yeah.
do it for less. Like us, our development, we used to be, I'll be perfectly honest with you, a whole month of work was around what, like $25,000 to engage the whole team for the whole entire month. And that's not the pricing anymore because it doesn't take a month to do anything. And so that's when I was talking about pricing, that's kind of just putting that out there to try to get people thinking about it, make comments about it, interact on it, because I want to hear from other people. Like, what are you doing? Like the model doesn't hold if I'm not engaged full time, and with AI, I'm not engaged full time. I'm just not. It just does the work, and then I check the work, then verify the work, and then we deliver. We have agents where we pretty much drop in a work order, and it just gets done.
And I want to caveat that with that was mostly around integrations. Integrations were extremely complicated. The data mapping between the two, the pieces that were left out, the email send, the
integrations for sure.
Some of this stuff still continues to persist, but AI has allowed us to speed that process up so quickly now and send the same kind of data requirements that we need and confirm over email with clients. Is really reduced the amount of overhead of constant communication, constant calls, which has really brought down the price. So, but like I was saying, some of the stuff we haven't gotten to today, it appears there's some leak that happened in an Egyptian gold investment platform. Apparently, allegedly the database leaked. So very unfortunate. Again, probably had some AI assisted malware that was done, or some way it could have been done old fashioned hacking, but even the hackers.
Let me add a hint right here. This is a good one. You can have your AI check all of the packages you are using and read all the source code. Like, you don't have to. We use the term grok. That's just an old thing. You don't have to understand it. Like you can say, hey, look at all these packages, see if there's any malicious code in there, and it will check. Is it going to find everything? Probably not. But if you're concerned about package injection, that kind of thing, I have the robot oftentimes scan a lot of the NPM libraries that I'm using, that I use on a regular basis, to make sure nothing untold got in there.
Let's table that, Bill. Feel free to just in the next technical walkthrough. I think that's a great opportunity to demo exactly how you can show folks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a good idea.
I think that is a great overview, right? I think we can get into the weeds with that. Another story we didn't get to today is Yan LeCun, the fellow who's pushing world models. He's very vocal that generative AI has a limit, and he's pushing joint embedding predictive architecture as a solution for world models. Apparently, he's published yet something else, and folks are raving about that today, or at least discussing it in the open forum. So
I'll check that out too.
We'll have to see, because generative, there is enough value coming out right now. I'd be excited to see what he thinks moving forward. And then the last thing that we didn't get to today, and I'm still curious to see how this plays out, is Palantir has released a manifesto. I don't know why they're publishing a manifesto, but they are. It's something around software, being a moat, not just for companies, but nations at this point. And again, I haven't read through the full thing. I've seen a lot of commentary online. Palantir, very powerful tools, very powerful connections.
It's a deadly combination, to be honest with you. Like where the direction from what I've seen and how they talk is.
It's definitely not just feeling like a corporate entity. It feels
like talking like they have government backing them.
And I find it interesting. Are they, have they reached mass appeal the same way Lockheed Martin, L3 Harris, Raytheon, the top defense industry companies are talking, or is there more to it? I don't know. I think it's best we leave that alone for now.
It kind of gets some. I think I could be opinionated on this matter, but I think I need some more data first.
I think it's.
So far, I'm kind of like, like for the first time in human history, my personal opinion is for the first time in human history, we have the technology that we can watch you every day, all day, and have things making recommendations to other people to take action against
Yeah.
you. And that's scary.
And I don't want to say I counter, but I'm bringing up the point to say I believe that was already in existence, many of that, and it's now
We just weren't aware. I would not
or
be
yeah, I
surprised.
don't know that everybody's been aware of how much monitoring is available to folks, but in the tech world, I think it's widely known how much lack of privacy is available when utilizing anything with a battery or electricity flowing through it, quite frankly. So it's bringing it together in a package format
Yeah.
that I think that folks are really. I don't know. There's a lot of ways to tackle the Palantir conversation. I think that for now we'll table it, but I do know we will be discussing it in the future.
Oh,
Um,
I'm sure.
it's just
It's a sensitive topic, to be
it's a
honest.
topic, and I don't know that it.
I don't want to offend anybody because these are it's an available thing, but there's some things we could do with this tooling that don't lead down a great path for humanity as a whole. Like it leads to a great path if you're a person at the top, but not so much for everyone in the
Well,
middle.
and again, I would even make the comment to say it leads a bad path for people doing bad things as well, right?
Yes, yeah, that is a great point. Great
So
point.
so I see a lot, and I always am a big believer that folks folks are doing the best. They show up to work and do the best they can, and to do good every day. I do think that good wins out over evil every single day.
Yes,
So I think
as well.
I think the I think that conversation will have to happen another day about Palantir. But as it stands, I think the content we've covered has been fantastic. I think folks are
Yeah,
getting an inside look into um, business, enterprise, more technical details. And like the show is still evolving. It's our third episode. I think we've gotten tighter in our communication, our conversation around AI. And like I said, I believe the next natural step is Bill giving a nice intro about or Bill doing another technical live stream and going back and forth between technical and these joint
yeah,
fireside
I
chats
agree.
where we're discussing. So
I think that's a good pattern.
yeah, so look forward to Bill's upcoming overview of how to use AI to review malware and package injection scenarios. Looking forward to it, Bill. Thanks a
Yeah.
ton, everybody.
Thank you.
Adios.
Have a good day, everybody. And like I said last time, let's just do this one in the close. Like get the tools and use them. Like just go get them and use them. And if you're doing AI in the browser, you're doing it wrong. I'll just get in with that. No, you're doing it wrong. Like you
Yeah,
just really need to open up and try to do it a slightly different way. And I promise you, the effects will be much better.
so true. Be good, everybody.